Hi, I'm Jonathan Davis. People call me JD. I've been playing drums a long time. I come from a very musical family. I have one brother, sister, mom and dad. Brother played drums, sister played clarinet. She played the keyboard. My dad played the keyboard, the bass guitar, lead guitar, and we were the rhythm section growing up in church. I have quite a long career in music, but although I'm in my 30s now, but been in quite a few other places other than the church. So got quite a bit to talk about in regards to music, in regards to my life and where I've been. Music for me started in the church. It was interesting because my immediate family was the rhythm section at church. We practiced at home our own terms and everything, but when we went to church and played together, it was natural for us to play together as a band. And I believe early on, I learned what it was to gel with a bass player because my dad was a bass player. The first drum set we had in the house was my brother's. He would lock it in the closet before he went to school every day. I wasn't in school yet, so I would break in the closet and pull it out and play it and try to put it back before he came walking down the street. And my mom was like, your brother go come home and get you. Man, my brother would get me every time. I couldn't resist. I have memories of sitting on my dad's lap. He used to have these big headphones from the 80s on his head. He always was listening to music from the 80s. He would have reel tapes of recordings and things like that. And I just remember this tall Ampeg in the house. And it was like a wall. It was so huge. It was like a cabinet of 10 speakers, maybe 8. 8 10-inch speakers, something like that. But it's been in our family for years, and it was taller than me. My dad primarily played bass, and then he began to pick up other instruments as well. But mainly he was a bass player, and I was heavily inspired. My mom said I was playing drums out of the womb. You know, I can remember when I used to be in the car seat listening to tapes, listening to music, riding in the van with my dad and stuff like that. So I've had strong memories in terms of music from an early age. I've never quit. You know, there's never been a season in my life where I really quit music. I've quit football to play music, but I never quit music to do anything else. As a matter of fact, there's a story about when I was playing football in Miami, and I literally went up to the coach and quit because I had somewhere to be for a week that dealt with music. And he was kind of jaw dropped, like, wow, you just go walk off the field because you got to play drums, you know. Music was that serious in my mind. It was that serious. And I was just like kind of huddling around the other football players, standing around thinking, you know what, I'm going to quit today. My dad bought me some JoJo's drumsticks. The way the sticks were made back in the day, they had a certain smell to it because they was coated with lacquer. And I used to sniff the sticks. That was kind of weird, you know, sniffing sticks. But yeah, I do recall doing that as a kid. The first pair of drumsticks I remember getting was red 2B drumsticks, and I was at my grandma's house. And before I can get to a set of drums, I had broke them because I hit some furniture. I had a fourth grade teacher in Miami. He put me to the side. I don't know how he found out I was interested in drums. Maybe I was beating on the desk. I probably told him I was a drummer. And this was the first time I was introduced to rudiments and marching band cadences. One of my first memories of playing the drums was at church growing up in Miami. And they gave me an opportunity to play one song. I may have been 4 or 5. It was like half of a song, maybe 60 seconds. And I played the song and they was like, okay, your song is up. And I had to let somebody else play it, something like that. Another memory I have was when my dad was playing bass in a quartet group in Miami, and we went on a trip to some faraway city down south, and there was a big stage and drums was in the middle of the stage, and there was a band on stage and they didn't have a drummer, and I was backstage watching this band perform without a drummer. And I guess my leg was shaking and I was just like, I gotta go jump on them drums and help these people. I had to be about 5, maybe 6 or 7 years old. And then
I just couldn't take it no more. I just couldn't take watching this band without a drummer. And I literally just walked on stage in the middle of their show and I just started playing. And a few of them turned around to look and say like, "Oh God, we just got a drummer." And I was holding down the groove and I just play. I was just like, I can't take it no more. Why y'all don't have a drummer? It was the talk of the night. My dad and his friends, they talked about it on the way back. They was like, "Did you see your son? He just ran on stage and just started playing the drums." But that's how they found out I was serious about the drums. Funny story about the drums. The physical drums that was at my elementary school. When I went to my middle school, I walked in the classroom and I auditioned. I showed my band teacher what I can do and everything. And then some more drums came to the school. When I looked in the closet, I was like, those are the same drums I used in elementary. I was just kind of like, okay, wow, what? They brought the drums here for me? What? I didn't really think nothing of it then, but as a grown man, I thought about that. I was just like, wow, it's almost like destiny. It's like you on a journey and the drums is following you like, hey, you're going to need me on this journey. I started reading music in middle school, started playing the vibes, started playing the snare drum, bass drum, and the concert band. And I was fully active in music in high school. I was that type of kid in high school. If you came in the band room, I was going to be practicing. And the clarinet players and saxophone players, they had to go all the way to the other side of the room just to hear themselves because I was playing the drums. I was serious about it. I was the type of musician that was involved in competitions, going on solo ensembles, working hard to get those superior ratings, working hard on reading. Now I want to talk a little bit about my setup, my specs, my specifications on how I set my drums up.
This is my drum setup. Normally I play a 6-piece drum set, depending on the style of music that I'm playing. And I like to play 10, 12, 14, 16, 22. This is what I'm playing right now. This is my configuration. Normally, I have my 6-inch splash on this side, and I use an 8-inch splash right here, and I play Peisty cymbals. My favorite crash size is either an 18-inch crash or a 19-inch crash. I usually play with my crash in this position or play with my crash here. This is a alpha Peisty cymbal, thin Swiss, and I like to use my thin Swiss on the right side of the drum set. This is the normal position where maybe the China would go. This is a Peisty 20 series. I like to use the 20 series, 17-inch crash, 18-inch thin crash. I play dark energy ride cymbals. This is a 21-inch light dark ride cymbal. It's very thin for a ride cymbal. If you're a jazz drummer, this is a good cymbal for you to use. It has a very dark tone to it, very dry. I use 10-inch alpha splashes as hi-hats, and I use 13-inch Peisty Signature Series hi-hats. These splashes are 10-inch alpha metal splashes. I use them as mini hats. I have a tambourine mounted on top. So this is my setup if I'm playing pop, R&B, rock, doing show tunes like a Broadway production. I would probably use this setup. If I was playing big band or straight ahead jazz, I would use a different setup. I would use 12, 14, 16, 20-inch kick, and 14-inch snare. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how I like my snare drum. I like 14-inch snares. I prefer deep snares. Give you that nice, dark, warm sound. Depending on what song I'm playing, I might have my snare tuned high, low, or in the mid-range. I like to play with my bass drum extended away from me a little bit more than some other drummers would. I like my bass drum to be further back so I can have much more leg room. I would prefer to have my 12-inch tom in the middle of the bass drum. But for now, I have my 10 and my 12. My 12 is almost totally in the middle of the bass drum. My ride is further towards the middle of my drum set because I'm accustomed to playing jazz. I really like to play my ride cymbal a lot. So when I'm playing my ride, it's more comfortable for it to be closer towards the middle of the drum set. So it caused me to shift my toms to the left of the drum set. Normally, a drummer might have his floor tom closer to his body, but I prefer to have my floor tom further away to the right of the drum kit.
Playing with a track has its benefits, and playing without a track has its benefits just as well. I never played jazz with a track, but like when you playing certain styles of music that does have a track, it frees up the drummer from playing so many notes on the hi-hat, and it makes the groove fatter. It makes the groove full. When I'm playing a groove, I like to play the ghost notes on the snare. But when you're using the track, you really don't have to use the ghost notes because there's so much other percussion instruments being accented in the groove. You don't really have to overwork the 16-note patterns and things. You can just play that basic 2 and 4. Like if you was playing in 4/4 with a track, you can just play boom chat boom chat boom, and your track might be going. The track is doing so much more rhythmically. It kind of frees you up to just deliver a solid punch in that groove. Playing without a track has its benefits as well. When you're not using a track, there's no device telling you when to play on the downbeat. Certain styles of music, the bass player lays behind the beat. Sometimes the drummer lays behind the beat. Just to make the music more soulful. You can do that when you're not playing with a track. When you are playing with the track, it's like you have to be right on time with that click track.
Your love holds me down. Your love holds me down, down. Your love holds me down, down.
the most important thing to consider when playing in a band for me is who's in the band and the music level that we can achieve as a band. I play a variety of music styles, and so I'm not too concerned with the style. The thing I'm more concerned with is who's in the band.
Hands in the air. Call love. Yeah, so beautiful.
The most important reason I like to play with the track is when I'm doing a drum solo. I find that I play drum solos better with the track, especially in a band setting, because it proves that I'm on time. You know, I'm the type of drummer, if I do a solo, I like to play odd times and I like to go away from the time signature. The track keeps the band together and it keeps me together as well.
Yeah, baby, you don't even know. It's not what's on the outside, baby, on the inside. You got a glow, you got a beautiful soul. Let's go, love.
There's a few things that I understand about being a professional musician. Sometimes it calls for the drummer to bring the goods, you know. And then sometimes it calls for the drummer not to overshadow the headliner, where it's all about delivering that pocket and just being a band member, or just playing the chart, or just playing the part. I'm a flexible musician where if I'm playing in a band and it's calling for a lot of energy from the band, you know, all the individuals in the band, I can do that. But there are times where the headliner wants to be the headliner and you're just the guy in the back. You just play the record. My approach to soloing in a band setting is to make sure my solo sounds like the genre. It sounds like the song in which I'm playing with the band. For example, if I'm playing a rock tune with a rock band and I'm giving a solo, then my solo should reflect the style and the genre. Then there will be opportunities where the artists want the drummer to play out and play a solo. And I can do that as well. But a lot of times I won't come out and play that solo until I'm appointed to play a drum solo.
things you should not play in the band. I'm not going to play funk solo or a funk associated drum solo in a Latin jazz song, because I want that solo to reflect the song. So it's almost like my band performance and my solo is fused together, because after your solo, you have to go back into the song, go back into the bridge, go back into the chorus with the band. And so you want it to be fused together. So that's my approach to soloing with the band. The same with drum fills, the fills that I'm using in the solo must reflect that style, that era of music. If I'm playing a Latin jazz tune, I want my fills, I want my solo to reflect everything about that culture, everything about that style of music. I have a story about when I was in high school as a gigging musician. My band director, he would always impose gigs on the jazz combo. He always had work for us to do. He would always come in the band room and tell us we had a gig, when and where. And I would be making funny faces like, what? You just giving me work? Man, I got something to do, stuff like that. And it was a every week thing. We was always going somewhere, always playing for somebody. And as a professional musician now, I look back on that and I was like, man, my band director was my booking agent. There was a drummer named Taurus Lovely that went to the same school that I went to. He was telling me how long he'd been practicing the clave with his left foot, using a double bass drum pedal. But that's where I really got it from.
I took down the cymbal, took down the tom. I didn't want to be distracted, and I just developed playing that clave rhythm. Then I began to rebuild the kit as I got better at it. And in about 2 weeks, he came to see me, and I was playing it. And he couldn't believe that in 2 weeks, I was playing the 2-3 clave. Chris Coleman, you got Benny Grab, you got Dave Wuckel, you got Dave Elich, and so Brian Blade. These are some of the drummers that I like listening to today. If I was to pick a top drummer, I would have to say Chris Coleman. He's very inspirational to me. The thing that I get out of watching other drummers play is not necessarily to play like them, but when you watch other great drummers play, they inspire you to do what you do. So if I was at home watching a DVD of another drummer, it would make me want to play. It would inspire me to go work on the things that I need to work on. When I was younger, watching drummers play in videos, watching drummers play on TV inspired me to be like them, because I had no path at that level of drumming. I was still developing. But after you become developed, you know your drum setup, you know what you like, you know your tuning, you know the cymbals you like, you know the sticks you like, you know how you like to configurize the drum set. You've matured as a musician and you know your sound. And so from that point on, when you watch other drummers, what they do for you is inspire you and encourage you to continue your musical journey. Show up to rehearsal already knowing the material. I always watch out for meter changes. I listen out for tempo changes, and I listen out for repetition in the music. And I pinpoint those spots. And I listen out for vocal cues as well. And I'm very good at just playing music on the spot. During the season of my first year in high school, I managed to have a steady gig with this jazz combo. At the time, of course, I wasn't grown. I'm up and playing in the jazz club late at night, and I guess I kind of blended in because I was tall. I received this phone call from a keyboardist who was like, "Can you do this tour with me going to South Africa?" I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Okay, let me go ask my dad." I called my dad. I was 17 years old. I was like, "I got a call to go play drums in Africa. Can I go?" And he was like, yeah, boy, you can go. Watching him play with such passion and authority. Today, he's still a drummer. I remember he was one of the people that I spoke to the day before I left to go to college. He was like, "Jay, man, you go up there, man, you learn everything you can, man. You learn everything you can about music, you know what I'm saying?"
I started using jazz brushes when I was about 10, 11, or 12 years old. I have an older cousin who plays drums. His name is Robbie, and he lives in the New York area. And at this time of age, he was in college, and he would come down to Miami and show me things about playing with jazz brushes, and I took a serious interest in it. He used to show me how to play brushes on a pillow to develop a good double stroke roll. Actually, he was showing my brother, and I was just kind of the guy on the side watching. The brushes was the type of drumstick that was added to my stick bag even back then. You might think, well, what does young guy know about these brushes? Today, that's one of the favorite things I like to do, is stir the pot, play with jazz brushes, whenever it calls for that in the music. You know, I do a lot of my patterns in my left hand when I play with jazz brushes, but my drum setup is totally right-handed.
Shed a tear just as long as you stand by me. And darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me.
This product can be seen in full by visiting www.jonathandavisworld.com. Click the store icon, make your selection there. Thank you for watching.